Young Turks, everybody. Ben Mankiewicz here. Cenk will have his MSNBC show, 6 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 Pacific. It's Happy Hour Friday on the Young Turks. Is that sticking? Are we doing Happy Hour Friday?
Well, we need some discount drinks and snacks.
This is like the worst happy hour ever. You come into a place like this for happy hour, you got Dave Kohler out there on the computer. I mean, there's like 5 people here. They all got their heads down. They're totally bummed out. They're staying in town over Memorial Day weekend. It's the least happy hour in America.
It's the whole point of happy hour. It's when it's normally dead, but then you got to get people in.
Right, exactly. This is not, like, look behind you. Just slide out of the way. Not a happy hour. That's just not a happy hour. All right, here's one of the reasons why it's not a happy hour. The Senate is supposed to be out of session this week, staying in session. Why is the Senate with 52 Democratic senators staying in session? Because 2 of the 48 members of the minority said, I think we should stay in session because I don't want President Obama to make any recess appointments, and we're going to get really, really mad if you do. That was David Vitter and Jim DeMint. Before we put up what Jim DeMint said today, let me tell you what Jim DeMint said yesterday. What they are fearing is that the president will make recess appointments and appoint Craig Becker to head the National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB, and then most importantly, what liberals have been asking for, liberals and people who want to protect people with credit cards, consumers, regular Americans should be in favor. Everyone who has a credit card who doesn't own a Fortune 500 company should want Elizabeth Warren to head the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I want to make sure I get those words correctly in order because it's a new agency, the CFPB. This is the agency that Elizabeth Warren has been creating for the past 6 months. And many want her, rightfully so, as she's a big consumer advocate, to be the first head of the agency. Liberals wanted Al Franken, and has been spearheading the charge among and many bloggers as well, to get Elizabeth Warren to head the agency. The White House, of course, terribly afraid that we're going to alienate Wall Street, and there's a tangible money reason for that, is that there's Democratic money on Wall Street too, and Republicans, we know, with the unlimited amount of money that can now be raised from Wall Street, is just they're going to clean up. Of course, because everybody on Wall Street is against the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And so, obviously, and the person who they certainly don't want leading it is Elizabeth Warren, Wall Street execs deciding, Wall Street business execs saying that she would be a disaster. She would be the furthest thing from a disaster. But they, of course, think she'd be a disaster. And Democrats want to be able to compete from a money point of view with the Republicans on Wall Street, at least to some extent. They don't want to get totally outdistanced. We know we're going to get outdistanced. They don't want to be completely outdistanced. So it's incredibly cynical that Democrats are afraid to give Elizabeth Warren this job. Nonetheless, the White House apparently has been struggling with this. There is another factor at play here, Elizabeth Warren's possible challenge in Massachusetts to Scott Brown for the Senate seat that he took from Ted Kennedy. She'd be a good candidate there, too. Almost anybody, though, in Massachusetts could be a good candidate. I mean, that's a seat that Democrats could be poised to win anyway. You don't necessarily need Elizabeth Warren to do it. Nonetheless, those are all the factors in play. So yesterday, thinking that there's pressure and that the president might go ahead and appoint Craig Becker to head the NLRB and Elizabeth Warren, David Vitter and Jim DeMint write to John Boehner and say, hey, don't allow the Senate, don't accept the Senate's adjournment, don't accept the Senate's recess, even though the Senate is, of course, in recess. So DeMint and Vitter are urging the House not to accept it, which will technically keep the Senate from being in recess. And so here's what DeMint says yesterday, not today. Hang on for the quote then, JR. Republican House, they say, will stop President Obama's ability to ram through reckless liberal bills. The president trying to stack agencies with liberal ideologues to ram through his agenda by regulating. Yeah, that's what he's doing. Because the progressives on the left, they're so happy with the president so far, just delighted because he's ramming through his left-wing ideological liberal agenda. Unelected and unconfirmed partisans, the NLRB, FCC, EPA, and other agencies are destroying jobs and hurting our economy. Republicans need to fight back. So anyway, that's what he's been hoping for. And then So what they do is they send this message to the House, and John Boehner sort of essentially agrees and says, okay, we won't do it. We won't acknowledge your week-long break. That's what we'll do. But they have to get Harry Reid to go along with it, right? And of course, Harry Reid does. So in response to this request, the group of Republican senators led by Vitter and DeMint, they asked John Boehner to not pass the Senate's adjournment resolution to block any recess appointments. So they send that letter. In response, Harry Reid agrees to schedule 3 pro forma sessions while the senators are gone, May 27th, May 31st, June 3rd. The Senate has to be out of session 4 consecutive days for a recess appointment to be made. So he schedules these 3 pro forma sessions where some senator will come in and just open and close business. Nothing will get done, but it will keep the Senate from being out of business for 4 consecutive days. So there's no recess appointment. Well, so in response, Reid agrees to this. What are you negotiating? What are you doing? Here's what I understand happened in this negotiation. David Vitter and Jim DeMint, they get on a conference call, and they say essentially to John Boehner, hey, look, man, we don't want this to happen, so don't accept the Senate's adjournment resolution. And he goes, okay, I got to get Harry Reid to agree to that. And they go, well, let's put our heads together. They're still on the phone. That's why I'm doing this. Let's put our heads together and figure out how we can do this. What do we have to say to Harry Reid? Well, I don't know. What can we offer him? What can we offer him? And then at some point, it occurs to one of them to just say, why don't we just call him and frickin' ask him? I don't know. That can't possibly work, can it? Well, let's give it a try. Do you have his number? This is Harry. Yeah, Harry, here's the deal. We don't want President Obama to do anything that we don't want, like make a recess appointment of Craig Becker or Elizabeth Warren. So, dude, if you could be a total sport about it, how about just scheduling a couple of pro forma sessions so the Senate doesn't actually go into recess? And, that way he can't make any appointments. Is that cool? I don't know. What are you offering me? Well, let me look through these things I can offer you. Let's see here. Nothing. We're offering you nothing. Will you do it anyway? Okay. For you guys, sure. So apparently that's what's happened. Another big win for the Democrats. Another well-handled negotiation. Way to go, boys. Well done. Bravo. So those who wanted Elizabeth Warren to get the job there at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau on a recess appointment, that's not going to happen. Oh, real quick. So let's put up the quote of what Jim DeMint said today, just to wrap it up. I didn't do that. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't. Let's do Tim Pawlenty before we take our first break here. Now, Tim Pawlenty thinks that he has a big advantage over other Republicans because he thinks that he has a foreign policy advantage here because he's been the governor of Minnesota. So Pawlenty thinks that, again, that this is an area of strength for him. So he's been on the campaign trail. He's running for president. He is inexplicably listed as a top-tier candidate. And I guess in this group of Republican candidates, perhaps Tim Pawlenty is a top-tier candidate. But so he said that he described his vision for sort of the America's role in the world. And of course he uses, and I'm taking this from Think Progress, and they've described it very well. He says he uses the playground politics, playground antics analogy, it says here, and I think it's a good one. He says, what's always true is when you're dealing with thugs and bullies, they understand strength, they don't respect weakness. Okay, so it eliminates all the points in history where thugs and bullies responded to strength with more strength. So it's a great thing to say, but it ignores all the times when, like, you met power with power, and then they met power with power, and then there were gigantic wars. And eliminates all the times when sort of careful negotiations averted war. And of course, we've averted war thousands more times than we've actually had war. leave out the fact that he's using the antics that the behavior that we all used when we were 7. All right? But I also like this. What's in this quote is, they understand strength, they don't respect weakness. Who frickin' respects weakness? Just one example. Anybody out there like, oh boy, I tell you, any girl who's like, oh man, Joe down there, you know, the VP of sales, that guy is weak. I totally want to do him. Nobody respects weakness. Why do people just say stuff, man, and it sounds bossy and big and broad-shouldered, and it's frickin' nonsense. Okay, so Tim Pawlenty, expert in foreign policy because he learned it when he was 6 and on the jungle gym. He compared himself to Herman Cain, but he says he has a better grasp than the rest of the GOP field, and that's why he'd be a great president. So again, he was setting himself apart to Herman Cain, and then just a couple of days after announcing his presidential bid, he was on the campaign trail, and naturally he confused Iran and Iraq. Now, before you get on me and be like, come on, it's an N and a Q and it happens and people have confused Obama and Osama, it's a mistake, the words are similar, it's a slip of the tongue, I got you. Don't get me wrong, I'd be making fun of him anyway. But this is so much more than that. So we have the audio of it, but it's really bad and really windy. So I'm going to have to read you what he says, but it's great. And this is not a slip of the tongue. This is a slip of the brain. And I would suggest a fairly permanent slip of the brain. So they're having this question, and then Pawlenty says to the reporter, you're talking about Iran, right? This is here. He's in this press conference right here. This is that day. And he says to the reporter, you're talking about Iran. And the reporter goes, yeah, exactly. So then Pawlenty says, when informed that this is about Iran, Pawlenty says, well, I think the situation now in Iran is such that Secretary Gates is negotiating with whether the U.S. military will be there beyond the end of the year. And they're looking to the Iranians to see if they invite the Americans to stay, invite us to stay, Iranians. And if they do invite us to stay at some very reduced level, I think the U.S. will be wise until we make sure they get to the next level of stability to accept that invitation. So if Iran makes the invitation by the end of the year, leaving a residual force, a greatly reduced force, but a residual force that would be there for a temporary amount of time until they could establish much better air security, then they can develop the intelligence. Okay, so the reporter, obviously bewildered, perhaps a little embarrassed for Tim Pawlenty, says, you mean Iraq, not Iran, because Iran, and Pawlenty goes, I'm sorry, Iraq, yes, you said, did you say Iran or Iraq? Hey man, who cares what the reporter said? What did you say? What do you mean? You were talking about Iraq. You kept saying Iran and Iranians. Who are these guys, man? Who are these guys? Speaking of all these guys, we have photos of them. The main candidates running for president on the Republican side when they were in high school and what they liked to do when they were in high school. Sarah Palin, Ron Paul, Rick Santorum. The Rick Santorum picture is priceless. It's priceless. We're going to have that for you, and also the Republican lies about what the Affordable Health Care Act, about what that did to Medicare. They're just lying because they're scrambling about the 26th District of New York and what it means, and they're holding on to Paul Ryan. No, Paul Ryan can't be wrong. Americans can't be rejecting Paul Ryan. Great stuff from that. Some really good clips we've picked out. I think you're going to enjoy that. And Peter Fonda, love his daughter Bridget. Peter Fonda, I think, totally nuts. All that coming up. Stay with us. Young Turks, everybody. Ben here for the second hour of the show with a couple of giggling blondes. Jackie Bray, Misty Puma.
Hello, internet, world, whatever.
Guys, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
You have found some excellent stories, some of which I've promoted on Twitter, which you have mocked me for being on, even though that's what I was doing.
He's on Twitter right now, just so you guys know.
Tweeting up a storm, like always.
Reading about the people who hate me. It's nice.
Isn't it?
Yeah, one guy was like, I just can't watch the Young Turks when at Ben Mank 77 song.
Oh, someone said that to me yesterday.
Did they?
Yeah.
And it's great when they tag you in the tweet, like all the
Yeah.
hate that they feel for you.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
That's right. That guy hasn't liked me for a long time. That's what happens when you get into this business. Sometimes people don't like you. It's all
Maybe
right.
it's just you.
It might just be me.
Okay.
All right, what do we got?
Okay, well, Hitler, he's not the nicest guy around, but apparently he really loved dogs.
He did.
And he was trying to teach his dogs to be excellent guard dogs, and he also was trying to teach them how to speak and read and write.
Yeah, so we know the Nazis were into dogs, the
Right.
shepherds,
Right.
as they
Okay.
called them there. They didn't need to call them German shepherds.
Oh,
So
snap.
they had the. We know they loved the dog. We know Hitler loved dogs. He had two, Blondie and another dog,
Bella.
Bella. He killed Blondie right
Yeah.
before he killed himself.
Yeah,
That's how
famous.
much he loved him, her, it. But there are a couple things in the story that. So this is part of a program, the research Cardiff University.
Yeah, there's a professor who wrote a book about it called Amazing Dogs, A Cabinet of Canine Curiosities.
Yeah, so they, as Jackie said, they were trying to teach the dogs to read, write, and speak.
Yeah,
Right.
they put them through an intense training program. And
And
it says that they ultimately wanted them to be guard dogs.
Right,
But
exactly.
I
The
don't-
ultimate guard
I
dog.
don't buy that. I think they want them to like be part of their army or something and like take over the world.
But I'd
Well,
like
yeah.
they wanted to be the ultimate guard dogs, but they needed to, what, write?
Yeah.
So at the end of your tour of duty as a guard dog, write up what the prisoners were like today. Yeah.
That's very important.
Right. Goldstein got a little out of line. Sorry.
And also great is they said that they said there was dogs trained to discuss religion, contemplate complex mathematics, and communicate with humans.
Right.
Okay.
Some humans can't even do that. I mean, most humans can't even do complex math and talk about religion.
Yeah.
You've gotten to the part of the story that I just. Okay, so from the book comes this line under trainer Margaret Schmidt's direction, right? The Institute, which was the training during, it was the Terror Sprechschul's RASRA.
What are you talking about?
So I mean, they had the institute, right? The trained
Yes.
dogs. So it was the school for dog-human communication, but it had a German name, right?
Right.
And it was in Lüttenberg, right, in the 1930s. So under Margaret Schmidt's direction at the Dog Human Institute, right, they had Rolf the Airedale Terrier,
Yes,
right?
good
And
name.
as you said, they trained that dog, Rolf, to contemplate complex math problems and communicate with humans by tapping out an alphabet code using his paw.
Right.
All right.
But there was also another dog named Kerwinal,
Right.
I guess, who would crack jokes like a comedian.
Right. So Kerwinal's doing stand-up,
Yeah.
right? And Rolf has an abacus, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, most
so-
humans can't do this, but why did they think dogs could do it?
Right. So it's a fair point. So Kerwinal's like telling jokes, but Rolf is like, while he's doing it, is like, time, your set list is almost up, right? So this is all obviously total horseshit, right? These dogs can't do. The dog wasn't telling jokes. You know why? Dog. Okay. So then the next paragraph here says, but Hitler's presumable pick of the litter was a pooch named Don, who apparently barked Mein Führer when asked who Adolf Hitler was. I'm like, okay, now we've reached the part of the story that might be true. They've taught so the dog went like, Mein Führer. You know, I'm like, okay, now I finally believe something. You know, like that would be on YouTube today. That would be on German YouTube. YouTube. That would be on that today.
YouTube.
Right.
Is that a real thing?
I don't know. I just made it up.
Yeah, it's going to become a real thing.
It's only videos of Ben.
I love it that they're like, the dog could do math, this dog could tell jokes, and this dog barked Mein Führer.
I almost feel bad for the university that this professor teaches at.
Right? Well, and she
Because we're
keeps,
laughing at it.
she keeps stressing the fact that, Nazis, they were really all about animal rights. They really cared about dogs. But what are you trying to make the Nazis sound a little bit better?
Well, I'm going to cut the professor who did the study at Cardiff University a break because she's telling us how I didn't know the Nazis were this obsessed. Like, it's cool to learn the Nazis were doing this nonsense with dogs. It makes them sound like idiots. You can't teach dogs to do math or do stand-up. But they thought they would, and it is weird that the Nazis, who were so barbaric and are gathering up these Jews and taking their belongings and shipping them off to these horrible concentration camps, were so concerned about what happened to the Jews' pets.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's this weird it's not much of a contradiction. They're barbaric, but it almost makes it worse because there is some humanity inside them.
Right.
You know,
And they see
hadn't
it in a
turned
dog.
Right, they hadn't turned it off completely. They have compassion for these pets, but couldn't have compassion for the 12 million people who they executed. It's horrible. But that said, so I find the actual uncovering of the study amusing, and I'm totally amused by Kurwendahl
The dog.
and his great stand-up routine.
I want to hear some of his one-liners.
What are you doing tonight? I don't know. I was just going to go get a couple drinks, and then we're seeing Kurwendahl do his 10 o'clock show.
He'd be a YouTube star for
Oh,
sure.
he would.
For sure.
Definitely.
All right, what we got?
All right, let's move on. There's a study done by the American Psychological Association Journal. So men, if you want to look sexy for women, don't smile. Look sad and brooding. And women, do the opposite. If you want to seem sexy to a guy at a bar or initially, just smile a lot.
I can't believe if this study cost $5, it was a waste of $5.
Here's what they did: is they took people and they showed them a picture of the opposite sex, and they had them rate instantly their attractiveness to the person.
Yeah.
So this is only for initial contact. This isn't like long-term relationship. Girls smile all the time and guys don't.
Right, because they're even saying if a man wants to get into a long-term relationship, he's going to have to smile.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Which is a little weird.
And they also said that men who smiled a lot were unattractive. So
Yeah, they seem desperate, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and they
think
seem
they kinda
feminine. So men, if you smile too much, it's feminine.
Yeah.
So, like,
knock it out.
the study fuels the notion that women are attracted to bad boys. It just seems like we were headed to confirm this. Women are attracted to guys like James Dean, Edward the Vampire. I like that James
Not
Dean.
Edward the Vampire.
I like
Sorry.
we get the actor James Dean, but Edward, poor Robert Pattinson,
Yeah.
he's just Edward the Vampire.
Yeah, he doesn't get his full name in there.
The guys who are flawed but who know it and are tortured by it.
She's been watching too much Twilight.
Yeah, but I mean, first of all, it's true.
Yeah, but
Is it
okay,
though?
I mean, I don't really want a flawed guy. I want a perfect guy, god damn it.
No, you don't.
Well, I kind of want a guy to smile because what if he's got really jacked up teeth?
Yeah, teeth are important. So
Okay.
he should eventually smile to
Okay.
let us know about his oral hygiene.
I understand. I got it. But you guys are, but the kind, of course, he's going to smile, right? I mean, you guys will make him smile.
What do you
Not
think?
if
Like, we
'cause
see
you're
a guy
so
in the corner
darling.
of the bar just brooding. Just,
No,
and we're
but-
like, oh,
What if they
that's
read
the
this
one.
article?
No, but you're going to find out that when you meet a guy, the guy who you're going to sort of, like, obviously you guys might be the weird exceptions, but but when the more that you tell a woman about your flaws in general, the more she's like, oh my God, he's so honest about who he is.
And we want to like fix you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right. I'm
I
just
don't want
saying.
to fix anybody.
No,
I
I don't. You
understand
might
that.
not. No,
No.
but seriously, but if you,
I
like,
don't like guys who cry either.
but like, you know, that's different. That's different. But you know,
Kind of, right?
yeah, but no, but it's
That's
no, it's-
different. That's different. These
No,
are guys that are flawed and tortured by it.
They're tortured. They're wrestling with their problems. Not like wrestling with
Yeah,
their
they
problems.
sound like crybabies.
No, not like
No,
they're not.
no.
James Dean wasn't a crybaby.
I'm not saying James Dean was a crybaby,
But they're brooding. It's like a silent remorse.
like I want to cry, but oh, I'm
Look
just
how
too cool and
look
I
how
can't.
Misty's like 100% turned around. Like in the last 40 seconds, all of a sudden, like 180 degrees, a complete turn.
I think this has been known. I mean, generally, maybe it's subconsciously known for a while by men. It's exactly what I was thinking. If we go back to the Hitler picture with his dog, he was like, "I'm a badass motherfucker." Look at him chilling. He's like,
You're bringing
he's not
Hitler
gonna
into
smile
this.
in these pictures. He's trying to be badass, and it's either for badass purposes or trying to attract purposes. Either way, I don't think it really works that much.
Yeah,
He's
not
looking
for
like an idiot.
Not for
all the
Hitler.
time.
No, it didn't work. Yeah.
He had his woman with him when he
Yeah,
was in his little bunker.
I think the power and the threat of imminent death played a small role in his success with women. Which, by the way, apparently he had very little success with women because he couldn't make it happen.
Okay, so do you think this is
Wow.
true?
No.
I think it is
I
true.
kind of like a guy that'll smile.
Okay,
once in a
but you
while.
acknowledge that it's true in general. It might not be true for you.
Yeah, well, yeah. If I saw a guy that was just like
Right. You don't. Mario Lopez.
at the bar, then I
Looks
would be
gay.
like, gay. I would assume that he is desperate, and he's
Yeah.
just like, I'm looking to get some.
No, but you
So,
want.
yeah.
I don't buy it. I think you want a brooding guy. You don't want him to be whiny, but you want him to
Right.
be. You wouldn't mind a guy a little bit tortured, and you want a badass. There's no question. You want a brooding badass. There's no
want-
doubt.
But
You just don't-
badasses always turn out to be assholes.
Right. Okay, and that's who you end up with, right?
No. Okay, I
Not
want the
anymore.
strong
Okay.
and silent type. So is that in the brooding category
Yes.
or is that a different category?
No, the smiling guy is the strong and silent type.
Okay, but
I don't want to talk about
the
it.
strong and silent guy isn't an asshole.
No, he doesn't have to. No, it doesn't have to be.
He
No.
doesn't have to be the bad boy.
Anybody. Yeah, but no, he's.
But you're saying that if a guy's brooding, that it automatically makes him a bad boy.
No, they are more likely to be, but I don't.
Okay.
But bad boy and ass are not the same. You can be a bad boy and treat you fairly well. He doesn't have to be an ass. Doesn't mean he doesn't have to call. It's just, he's trouble.
He's a risk taker.
He's a risk taker. He'll probably make you take some risks. He'll like put you in some dangerous situations. Doesn't mean he's not going to call you or treat you well.
I'm totally fine with that,
Yeah.
by the way.
Right. But he's going to be. It's going to be risky. You're going to do things you didn't think you were going to do.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna need an example, like in person. I'm gonna need to see one. You point him out. That's brooding.
All right.
It's totally
Well,
Dave.
I mean, this
So I
should
was
work
pointing
great
out.
for you. This story should be like music to your ears because you never smile.
I know. I don't like to smile.
I mean,
No,
you
I-
should test this out and let us know, Ben.
When I have to smile for work, like when they have to be like, and smile, like for a publicity photo, it's the worst.
You've actually talked to us about that.
Yeah, I'm
Try
3, 2, 1,
smile.
and I'm like,
Yeah, you should definitely
Don't
not
ever
smile.
invite Ben to a red carpet event because he won't be able to smile.
it's horrible. It's really painful for him.
We'll coach you.
Very hard.
It'll be fine.
But it's, and I think it's disingenuous. If you don't,
If you're
it's not,
forcing
if
it.
it's not, right. I mean, I laugh when people say something funny. I mean, it won't happen with you guys, but when I'm around people who say something funny, I'll smile.
Okay.
But it's got to happen organically.
Okay.
Let's see
Alrighty.
what happens.
We'll see if we can make you smile.
This next story is a giant lie. So
You
let's,
think it's a giant lie?
I actually really like this story.
Okay, well, Hines Ward, the winner of Dancing with the Stars this week.
I don't think it's the same guy.
You don't think
What?
it's the same guy?
I don't.
There's another Hines Ward.
I don't think it's the same guy because they would point that out.
They do talk
Tell-
about Dancing with the Stars.
They do?
Well,
Thanks for reading the article, Ben.
down here.
Oh. Never mind.
Why would they talk to just a random
How
Hines
is there
Ward?
another Hines Ward in the world?
All right, continue.
Totally messing me up here. Okay, well, he was opening up a restaurant, just opened May 24th, and it is a leftovers only restaurant.
Called Lefties.
Yeah, so basically what you can do is you can go there and buy other people's food that they have made, or you can sell your own food that is left over for $1.50 a pound.
It's kind of like a clothing consignment store. Take your
With-
food, go there, sell it, and other people buy it.
Yeah.
What if it sucks?
You
Yeah,
can't
what if someone's a terrible cook and it tastes disgusting?
read the example of how this would work.
Well, Heinz goes on to say you have hamburgers on Wednesday night and there are 3 left over. If you don't want to eat hamburgers again that week, all you have to do is drive through our drive-through window on your way to work. Someone at our staff will weigh your leftovers and pay you $1.50 a pound.
And do what with it?
Sell it to other people.
I mean, I want to
You
know.
can't do that.
I know
Apparently they are.
that's totally illegal. It's just maybe this is a.
Scam. It's not.
Joke?
There's no way it's true.
Well,
There's
people,
no way
people
it's
are
true.
already trying to scam it because they're going to the soup kitchens and getting the free soup and selling it at Heinz Ward's restaurant and getting $1.50
Yeah, it
for
literally
it.
opened like 3 days ago.
Yeah, he's claiming it'll be recession-proof.
Here's what I want to know: is how much do you buy the food for? If like you can sell it for $1.50, how much is
guys-
someone else buying it for? Like $3?
Look,
Oh, what's the markup? Yeah, what is it?
read the quotes. You guys.
We read the quotes.
Oh no,
Come on.
no, this one's a gem. The service is really fast because the food has already been cooked. I got some hamburger steak that had a few cigarette ashes on it, just like Mama used to
Yeah.
make.
Okay. I don't know at what point it's going to dawn on you guys that this doesn't exist. Okay. Now read the Heinz Ward quote 2 paragraphs below that.
I had to pull out my pistol the other day when a guy from PETA came in here with some tofu.
Yeah. Okay.
That mess looked like the salve we used to put on a diseased part of a mule's butt.
Yeah, it sounds like what they say. What about we caught a couple of truants going through the soup kitchen line and bringing the food over to sell. I know the police are busy, so I made them go out and bring back a switch. You just can't beat the compassionate discipline of a well-formed magnolia limb. Yeah, so he's beating truants.
Well, maybe they deserved it.
There can't be
Stealing from the soup
there
kitchen.
can't be a place called Lefties that actually serves leftover food. Now, if there were a restaurant called Lefties, like all of a sudden I thought it was a great idea, like Lefties that served the kind of food that you ate as a kid as leftovers. Like it served meatloaf or even cold meatloaf.
But
or
it was
served,
fresh.
But it was fresh, but it's
I
the
gotcha.
kind of sort of home, like the kind of comfort food that would have been served as
Yeah.
leftovers.
And it didn't come from a random person's house.
It didn't come from somebody you don't know's home with no quality control and no way to test whether it had
Yeah, it's like
bacteria.
It's like Goodwill.
Well, what if someone brought in they sold wheat brownies, for $1.50 a pound, and they start selling them out? How are they gonna? I mean, are they like taste testing it in the back?
They're not.
How do they know?
They're not. It's not real.
Well, it apparently is.
Anyways, let's move on to a
Yeah.
hopefully real story.
All right.
So there is a New York jazz singer.
Hold on. JR, any chance that Lefties is a real place?
No, but if it was, wait for the end of this. It opened 2 days ago. Wait to the 4th day when someone has serious poisoning
Right.
or
yeah.
disease, and it'll be close.
Or I think this is in Kinston, North Carolina, is
Yeah.
where they're, right? Or there are literally no regulations in Kinston, North Carolina. Like you can
Maybe
barely.
everybody's really trustworthy there.
If this was real, the whole world would know about it.
Right. It's
He
not.
just won Dancing with the Stars.
yeah,
So
it's not real.
The Onion
And
failed us.
but the concept of calling a store like that Lefties is actually good.
No, it's terrible.
No, I think then my idea is good. Like that kind
Oh,
of food.
your
That kind
idea.
of.
Did you hear what he said? That the Republicans wouldn't go there?
Yeah, they had one
And
in
all that
Washington.
stuff?
Republicans wouldn't go there because it was why? Oh, because it was only for Democrats, lefties,
Yeah.
and the Democrats wouldn't go there because
It was singling out like
Left-handed people.
oh, it was singling out right-handed people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
yeah, yeah.
discrimination.
Right, right.
Yeah, but you guys still thought it was a real place.
I think it's real because I don't think Heinz would lie. No one who wins Dancing with the Stars is a liar.
All right, continue.
Anyways, let's move on to real hard news. This story is about a New York jazz singer who was arrested for sunbathing naked in olive oil in a park in Indiana. He had next to him a book entitled Gay Power, and then next to that was a few cans of beer. And his defense, when the cops showed up, was, "I'm from New York. Can't I do this here? I'm a Republican, and the cigarettes pay for your taxes." So because he's smoking, he can lay there naked.
I don't
Does
think
this
you,
happen in New York?
I don't think you can. I don't think you can lie naked in New York.
No, pretty sure no. It's
No.
still illegal.
Especially not on your back.
I like that he had the book Gay Power, and he was like, and he had the poured olive oil all over himself.
Apparently that's like a sunbathing trick I don't know about yet.
Yeah, I've never heard of that
Well, that's
one.
what people used to do, like before suntan. You put
Olive-
oil.
Old school.
I've heard of baby oil, but olive oil?
Yeah, it cooks your skin.
Oh.
Yeah, as you might imagine.
It's kind of disgusting.
Yeah, you get tan though.
Wait, but how did they arrest him if he was covered in olive oil? Like, wouldn't it be kind of slippery?
They put his towel around him
Oh,
he,
they
had, he had a
did?
blanket, right? And they used
Wow.
because he was
Oh.
laying on a blanket. Yep. He was arrested for public
awesome.
intoxication, public indecency, and false informing for lying to the cops.
Oh, because he made up a name, right?
Yeah, he was lying about his identity.
Yeah,
He's only on a $200 bond.
I know.
I think we'll see him
Cheap.
soon.
Yeah, I like that he was just lying there naked. You totally.
Minding his own business.
Yeah, totally.
No, and the best part to me was this quote that the cops released.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
His nudity was deliberate and not a wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah.
In case anyone was wondering.
And he
It
was.
sounds like a gossip report. I mean,
And he was sweating all over his body.
Well, maybe it's because he's a YouTube
because he
star.
was tanning, he was sweaty.
So that's the thing. This guy, was he a jazz musician or something? You guys
Yeah.
said?
Yeah.
Can we put a picture of him, please? So he was tanning.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
I think he wants some attention. is
We
maybe what it
failed
is.
to
Mention that part.
Yes.
It's a fair point.
Thank you, JR. You're so awesome.
All right, let's do one more before we take a break.
Okay, well, you know how if you ever go to an auction, there's sometimes really, really random things that are being sold?
Sure.
Never
You're
been to
aware
an
of that,
auction.
right?
Okay.
Well, the decapitated head of Saint Vitalis, the patron saint of genital disease, is being auctioned up.
For the low price of $1,100 to
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
So,
Who's jumping at the chance to buy this head?
Saint Vitalis of Assisi is the patron saint of VD.
Yeah.
Wow. Have you guys ever had venereal disease?
No.
Well, Jackie,
no.
you have. Misty?
No.
Whoa,
you?
why'd you throw that one on me?
Well, you told. Never mind. I shouldn't say that. You never had anything? Nothing? Syphilis?
No.
Syphilis?
No.
Chlamydia?
What do you think? I'm easy?
Syphilis
No,
is
no.
so 1800s.
Yeah, it was a little. Yeah.
No.
You've
I'm-
never been even moderately syphilitic?
No. Have you?
And if we were,
course
we
not.
would not be admitting that right now, Ben. So have you.
A little. I was a little syphilitic as a kid.
Oh, you still have herpes, too?
No,
You look like
thankfully
you have a touch of gonorrhea from
Yeah.
time to time.
I had I think it was college, my girlfriend just go ballistic because she had, and this is how the story went, chlamydia. And she was like, I don't know who you'd been with. I hadn't been with anybody else in college.
She accused you.
Yeah, that I had given her chlamydia, and then and she was outraged, so angry, and the doctor had told her and I knew nothing. I'd never heard of it, right? I was thinking, I'm like,
You had never heard of chlamydia?
Not in college. I had never heard of chlamydia.
Did you skip health class?
We didn't. I went to private school, and
So did I.
and so we get back, and then she literally gets a call back after like she's frozen me out for 2 days. She's not speaking to me. I'm like, how come? How do I like? I'm thinking maybe I have. Maybe you gave it to me. Like how do we? And then the doctor calls. Like that was on a Monday, and the doctor calls on Wednesday, and they're like, oh no, yeah, I'm sorry, you don't have chlamydia. It's a great moment in my life. Yeah.
Maybe you should buy this for her
to
remind her of you, and maybe you guys can like get back together.
Yeah. Turned out nobody had chlamydia. It was great.
That's good.
Wow. Why did she jump to chlamydia?
What do you mean jump to chlamydia?
Like why? If she thought she had something, was
No, she'd been told by the doctor she had
that she
chlamydia.
had chlamydia.
Oh.
Yeah, and then it turned out she didn't have anything. Like she had a sore throat. I mean, it was just a
Sounds
nice.
like a great doctor.
What a good scare, though. I mean, she's
It's
going to
also-
be use protection and all that stuff. Maybe she's using abstinence. Maybe she never had sex again.
Maybe
After that scare.
maybe. What was interesting also is trying to find out in 1980, before you guys were around. I was trying to find out when I was in college, how do you like learn about like you can't
Google
you
it.
can't go online, and I'm not going to the library, you know.
You ask your friends. But they don't know anything either, so it's all rumor.
This is why
Yeah.
we need the patron saint's head around more
Because
often.
I like, thought it was like a devastating. I mean, I thought like, was this fatal? Like what?
Yeah.
like what terrible news?
You're like, we're getting body parts chopped off kind of thing.
And I'm like, I'm like 20. I've slept with like 2 girls in my life. How did I give this poor girl?
You got scared that your dick was going to fall off, huh?
I did. It was
Yeah.
terrible.
I has it.
She's a
Anyway,
bad girl.
It all worked. It all worked out in the end. So
Well,
anyway, this is auction. They're selling it.
Who's going to buy this? I mean,
Yeah.
some mom that wants to scare her kids.
Well, the creepy part is that the people who own it right now, they had it at the entryway of their house. So that's the first thing you'd see when you'd come in.
Ridiculous.
Like that. Like who would want to
It's
see that?
heinous.
Heinous.
Not so bad.
It's heinous. My mom likes that word.
I think I'm a fan too. Yeah, it's
Um,
creepy. No one wants that.
All right, let's take a break. We come back and we'll talk about a Craigslist ad for growing pot in your house.
Yippee.
Yeah.
All right, stay with us.